Well, hi everyone, it's Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. Today I thought we would do these fun little cigarette card sketches. I call them cigarette cards because that's what they kind of remind me of. They are just having fun with some ink and a couple of different colored pens and some botanical inspirational sketches. We'll show you how I do it, and it's really fun. I also play with a little water with the ink just to create some more visual interest and texture in the background. You can also stamp these if sketching is not your cup of tea, but I will show you a couple of cute little simple sketches that you can kind of manipulate in your own way after some practice, and you'll find that your sketches will slowly develop into something a little bit more realistic with these little tiny tricks. I did a couple of bigger ones here just for fun, and back to the small ones with different colored inks and different colored pens. So I've got some black, I've got some red, I've got some blue, and the idea is that they can match whatever journal you're working on. So let's get started. I do cut these up into tiny little pieces, just to show you here really quick how they end up tiny like that in a little pile. And there's just something about minis right now that I am in love with. I like the fact that these are small and super, super quick. So I got these index cards from the thrift shop, and they're great. The only issue I have with these is that the tape sticks to them because they're a cheaper type of paper. So I'm using, and here you can use, of course, any scrap. But I'm using the index cards for these because they're a fun size, and I apparently have a lot of them. So I'm just using this cheapy washi tape that I have in my stash. And I just taped it down in these segments here. And you can, of course, do any size you like. That's why I didn't bother taping it down. I just create a border around each little rectangle here. I decided to use some green ink on this, and I'm just lifting it up because it shakes the camera too much and it's irritating for people to watch a shaky camera. I know I can't stand it. So I'm just going to cover these in some of this olive color, I believe. I'm doing a voiceover right now because Mildred is chewing away at her toy and my husband is busy hammering, and I wanted to get this filmed, so hence the voiceover. So here's some corduroy, I think it is, or linen, the linen one. But again, any inks you have will work for this, or no ink at all, or acrylic paint, or watercolor. It's whatever you have handy, and that's what I love about these little mini projects. It's really just using up what you've got. So I'm just going to saturate some spots here. And then I'm going to use my trusty stamp that if you follow me, you've seen me use quite a few times. And I love it because it just adds a little vintage texture to the back of the sketches. I use it all the time, this stamp I'm about to show you. It's I got it off Amazon. I don't have the link anymore. But it's super, and again, you can use anything. And also, if you don't want to even sketch, you can use a stamp on this. So the idea is just to make these cute little miniature drawings and little bits of ephemera ready to use for your journal. So I go in different directions just to create some interest, because remember, these are going to be chopped up into individual pieces. So it's not a whole image we're working on. We're just working on several images all at once, but they will be cut up and used individually. So now I'm going to grab some water, and I'm going to just drop the water onto the ink. And it's really fun because it removes the ink basically once you absorb the water with some paper towel, and leaves behind some really beautiful watermarks, which I love. So if I were to do more of these, I would probably saturate a little bit more ink in a few spots and then drop the water there so the contrast is higher. So darker ink, and then some of the ink is removed, is more noticeable. I didn't go too dark on this because I want the sketch to show up. So here I am just removing the water now. It only has to sit for a second and creates these really pretty watermarks. And then it's basically ready to draw on. As long as you don't saturate the paper too much, you're ready to go. So some really pretty watermarks there. So you can see the contrast. The more ink you use and use the water over top, the more contrast you'll have. And I'm just pulling out all the pens I've used, pencils. And again, these are not very fancy. There's maybe one fancy pen in here, and the rest are just your regular run-of-the-mill pens. So this is just a ballpoint pen that I happen to have. It's like a dark blue black color. I also keep my book handy close to me for some visual references on what to sketch, and you can use anything you've got. So I've got scrap paper here. You can pull from that. You can walk out in your garden, grab whatever you see. And this is what makes it fun to do these little sketches, because they're designed to be quick and not too much detail, but still capturing the form. So you can slow me down and speed me up here to follow along with my sketching. And I'm just going to go relatively slow on a lot of these. I kind of speed up towards the end because I don't want the video to be too long. But you can see I'm just playing with designing some leaves here. So I will tuck leaves behind. I try not to fill the leaves in. I force myself not to fill the leaves in. Sometimes I forget and start coloring the leaves in. And the reason why I like to leave them blank is then I can decide if I want to tuck some leaves in front or behind. And I want to darken up. So this one, for example, I'm going to darken so that it looks like it's behind the leaf in front of it. And the other one on the other side, I'll repeat the same. So when you're doing the stems as well, you want to make sure they're thick enough to hold the weight of these plants. So if you were to draw really heavy leaves with really thin stems, it won't look natural because the plant itself will not be able to hold itself up. So you can see I just moved it a little closer here so you can see how I darken it and it pushes it behind and that lighter one pops forward. And those are just little tricks that you can do to start creating a little dimension. Also, when you're designing your little sketches, you want to make sure your composition is nice and even, that the negative and positive space has balance. And you'll notice this when you look at something will look off, and you'll realize there's a big empty space. And if it's not balanced, it will look funny, and you're going to want to put some sort of leaf or some sort of vegetation in that spot. So I'm just going to do a couple of different style plants here. There I'm putting a leaf in front. Now you can see I colored it in, and I should have left it just the outline at this point while I'm busy designing, because it would have popped forward more had it been a little bit lighter. But these are, again, just sketches, practice. I love them. I find this kind of sketching very therapeutic for me. I really just enjoy the not zero, but low commitment you have on these tiny little doodles. You know, you're not working on a massive sheet of paper and completely intimidated and worried to make a mistake. Because you make a mistake on these, you glue something over top of it or you chuck it out, right? It's not the end of the world. But it's a great way to start practicing capturing form on these tiny little sketches. So here I do another plant. And, I'm thinking about it, looking at my inspiration here, trying to figure out, what do I feel like drawing on this one? And sometimes I'll draw the same thing over and over again because I will use these in different journals. So there you see I broke the line and then put another leaf in because I want that leaf in front of the stem. And this one I'm going to work on putting a couple of leaves behind each other. And again, the more leaves you tuck behind each other, the more depth you create in the drawing. Even something as simple and little as this, you can create a lot of depth and a lot of interest and even a lot of realism. So I'm going to darken up the back here of that leaf that sits behind the one in front. And then I'll thicken up the stems as I go as well, so I know that realistically the weight of this plant can be held on its stem. You can play also, I don't really get into it too much here, but you can play with the details of the leaves. You know, some of the leaves have very striking type of veins in them. Some of them are very smooth. Some of the edges of the plants can be spiky. you can really have fun with that too. I'm keeping it a little bit more simplified and just coloring it in relatively quickly because, again, I don't want the video to be too long. But I'm hoping that these little tricks of tucking things behind, making things lighter, thickening up the stem, filling in the composition to look interesting will give you some guidelines on how to improve your sketches. So after I finished that one, I just introduced another leaf there because I felt that there was too much negative space in that corner. And these little tricks over practice will give you some more realistic looking plants. So this one I start playing with the plants a little bit more with the form. So the other ones I just did, they're kind of flat, so they're almost like a pressed flower look. When this one I'm drawing now has more of a three-dimensional look in the sense that I'm drawing a plant that has curved and concurved leaves. So they fold in on themselves. They're growing in different directions. You can see the underneath of the leaf. And this, again, also creates more dimension and more depth in your drawing. And you can really have fun with this. So once you get the confidence and the practice in, you can really start observing plants, whether it's a sketch or a real plant, and really study what it is you're looking at as opposed to what you think you see. Because when we're kids, we're taught to draw a shape of a tree with a round circle and a stem at the bottom. Well, trees don't look like that. The more you look at a tree and the more you practice sketching it, same with the plant, the more details you'll start to see, and they'll improve your drawing 100 times. So just having fun here. It's still pretty flat in the sense that no leaves are tucking behind themselves, but I wanted to show you, so this leaf is growing a little bit more towards you when the other ones are growing sideways. So you can still have fun with perspective here on how these leaves grow away from the stem. I really enjoy drawing this type of thing. And then I put a little kink in the stem as a node, like a node from the plant where another leaf or branch would grow out. And just, again, that little kink gives it some interesting composition in the drawing itself. So you can really have fun with this. So this next one, I just shift the composition a little and bring the leaf coming down from the top of the drawing, if that makes sense. So almost like a branch. You're just getting the outer perimeter of a branch, but it's not growing up from the bottom, it's growing down from the top. So you can have fun with that sort of perspective as well. I mean, you can obviously rotate that around and have it upright now that I'm thinking about it, but you have that option of making it look like it's growing from the top. And you notice there's one or two where I'll go straight up. I usually put a nice little rotation in the leaf itself, either on a diagonal or a slight curve or a kink. And again, it takes away a little bit of that flatness that you can get from just drawing straight down, and you want to really capture some interest and design on these little sketches. So I'm just using my last sketch as an inspiration here, and this plant grows all its leaves out from the center of the plant. So it's a really fun way to teach yourself how to create that depth again by putting the shadow in the right spot to make it look like those leaves are behind and leaves are in front. And when you're drawing plants, you can decide what leaf sits in front and what leaf sits in back, and you're going to constantly thinking about that while you're drawing. So if you're unsure, just pause for a second and go, okay, do I want a leaf in front here? Then I need to make sure that I draw the full leaf, and the one that I draw in the back is going to be cut off by the one in the front. And that will come more naturally as you practice sketching. So this leaf in the back that's coming up from the center is now going to get colored in dark because there's less light in the center of that plant, and it pushes that back leaf away from the front leaves. I hope this makes sense. It's a bit difficult to verbally explain. I'm a visual learner, so I would watch videos like this over and over again and slowly grasp the concept of what it is they're doing. But I know some of you have learned a lot from some of these sketches that I've done. In the comments, I hear that quite a bit, and that makes me really happy that anybody who's decided just to give it a go, because it's intimidating. You know, you're putting your little heart and soul into these little sketches, and you don't want to be disappointed. You know, you're putting an effort in and you want the results. Sometimes they take a little practice, like anything, and you got to give yourself a chance. But picking up that pen and making the first step is huge. So good for you for trying. I'm just going to have a quick look through here and try and find some other inspiration. I'm going to do this little doodle guy. He's just a tall, thin stem, and I give it a lot more texture in this one I'm drawing. And to create the illusion of little buds or little tiny leaves, I basically just scribble. So it's more about achieving the overall texture of the plant than the actual details in the leaves. I'm not going to spend hours on these. These are quick little sketches, and they're really fun. And again, for me, very therapeutic. So you see I didn't go straight up. I give it a bit of a bend. It just gives it a little bit more interest in the composition. And then I don't add anything because the negative space, and by negative space, I mean the part that I'm not drawing, is balanced here. It's even on both sides, so I just leave it be. And I just, scribble in, scribble a little darker on the bottom end of the leaves to create that illusion of a little bit of shadow under there. And they make really cute results. And I love to just shove these in journals or add them in a little envelope for people to glue into their journals. Just so much fun. Here I decided to do little berries. I love drawing berries. So you can see I'll skip and go down and draw another circle and just bring it a little closer. You can see that I don't fill in the full circle. I leave a little highlight at the top of the berry. And I'll do that in the same spot in every circle to show that the light is hitting the top. Again, not a perfect circle, quick sketches. I'm going to put a couple of berries at the back of the branch as well. And then I just fill in the sides. So as I was saying earlier, I draw the line, I stop, I do a circle, and then draw a line again because those berries that are in front of the stem. So I don't want the stem running through or it ruins the illusion. I love drawing the berries. I could draw these all day. It's just something really whimsical about little berries. And they make such I don't know if it's the texture or the round contrast, the shape of the contrast against the blank paper that I like so much. But I find it very appealing. And then I just give it a couple little leaves at the bottom. Okay, so we've finished our little sketches. Now the most satisfying part of all is peeling the tape off. I just stick the tape to the desk and reuse it. And the more I reuse it, the less sticky it becomes and the less likely it is to tear my paper. So again, this is just cheap index cards, so chances are the paper will stick and tear a little bit. It's doing it right now. So if you want perfect little cards with no tears, then you're going to want to use a better quality paper like a watercolor paper or something. I decide here to add a little bit more contrast in the ink. I just feel like we could go, now that I've pulled a little bit of the tape off, I see that it's nice, but I want to go a little bit more dramatic on some of these. Again, I'm just lifting it because it shakes the camera. So this is a vintage photo I believe I'm using here. I think. Don't quote me on that. But I'm just going to add a little bit more, and then I'm going to sprinkle the water on and get some more drama going in the background. And it's better to do it while the tape is on so you have those nice crisp white edges. I love this part. There's something really fun about removing the ink in these watermarks. It looks like a watercolor, but you're just using the ink. And I like that it doesn't take hours. Like watercolor, you have to wait for it to dry. When this, I can just dry it off. So I'm just let it sit for a second, and then I will grab my paper towel and dab it off. There's just something so satisfying about pulling tape off. You just get to see how your cute little doodles really do come to life in these individual lines. See, look at that fun watermark. I love it. So much fun. And I just used a cheapy pen here. I didn't use any fancy pens. And I will reuse this tape, so I do get a little bang for my washi tape here. And I did just stick it down to a scrap piece of paper. So there you go. Those are them. I think they are so cute. You can add even more to them. You know, you can add more stamps, ink colors. Just have fun with it. Experiment with it. Millie's getting very antsy beside me here, so I'm going to have to take her for a little walkies. She needs to go outside, and it's just beautiful September we're having here in Ontario. Like 26 degrees, just absolutely gorgeous weather. So I have to take her out, and I'll probably put a little video of her at the end here so you can see how she's doing. She's a very happy puppy. So you can see how adorable these are. I just love them. You know, if I had handwriting, beautiful handwriting, I would write things on these, like little messages, but I have horrible handwriting. I've practiced, and it's just not something that comes naturally to me. I don't have the confidence when it comes to handwriting, and I also have atrocious spelling. I'm sure you guys have noticed that in my description box. So I don't often write anything, but how pretty would like a little cursive writing message on top of these be? That would be so cool. All right, just cleaning up my scraps here. So I will say goodbye now because I'm not sure how much longer I have on the video here. I'm just going to embellish the edges with little stitch marks. Sometimes it's nice to pull the black ink back around. So if you took that original stamp that I had used before with the writing and used black ink over top and stamped it, I don't have any black ink. That would look really nice as well. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it inspires you to pick up a pen and a pencil and just have fun with these sketches and play. Here I am circling around the watercolor mark just to add a little bit more texture. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and I can sit here for hours. I do sit here for hours on my day off. Nothing gets done around the house because I'm having way too much fun with these. I hope it inspires you. I hope to see you here at the Creative Cove again. Please share, like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, doggy.
Bye.
Hey, Millie. Are you happy? Oh, you're in your happy place.